Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Kingpin Podcast. Today we have TJ Cunningham with us. He's an Amazon FBA expert. I'm going to actually go ahead and let him introduce himself because he does it much better than I could.
Thank
TJ,
you.
welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, my name is TJ Cunningham. I am the former professor of the real world. I was one of the founding members of Hustlers University by Andrew Tate. I have an Amazon business. It's doing around 40 to 50K per month. I have some other investments in crypto, property, and that kind of thing. But my main business venture is Amazon FBA. It took me quite a few years to get started, but here we are. And now I'm on this podcast.
Now you're on the podcast. Yeah, so the first thing that I want to cover is I think the natural question is how'd you get started into Amazon FBA? What was that journey like for you?
So it was a funny story because I never actually knew what Amazon FBA was when I first started. So I was working on site as a carpenter. It wasn't a bad job. I was self-employed. I was probably making around, it varied because I was self-employed. It was around 700 a week to 1,500, sometimes 2,000 a week. So I was doing pretty well on the tools. Um, this comes into my spectrum of a skill into a business, into an investment, but we'll get into that later. So the skill was I was a carpenter, but I realized that there was only so many hours a day I could work. And to take it into a business, you needed to think differently. So I was looking online for new businesses. I tried drop shipping, which failed miserably. So after that, I was online. I was on an app called Shaper, I think it was called. And basically, it's a little bit
What?
like Tinder for Shaper, yeah, SHAPR.
Okay.
It's like Tinder for entrepreneurs, they say, but a lot of the time you get a lot with multi-level marketers on there. And basically, I spoke to this guy who said he wanted to start an Amazon FBA business. I was like, what is it? I know what Amazon is. I've heard of it. I don't really use it too much, but what is Amazon? What is Amazon FBA? So he says, okay, what it is basically Amazon fulfills the order. They're blowing all the other competitors out of the water because of how fast they can get shipping. So I said, okay, let's have a meeting. So I met him in Birmingham, which is where I'm from. So we met in Birmingham, had a meeting, and then we decided to get started. So I started looking for products. I was looking for all sorts of things at the time. Makes no sense to me now whatsoever. As I've looked through my old search history and saved products, there were things like mini motorbikes, step ladders. Right now, I'm thinking terrible products to sell online. Trust me, they're too heavy, they're too big. Believe me. So yeah, had no idea from the very start, and I was looking through products, and then I thought, because I'm in the construction niche, I should probably start around construction since I know it so well.
Yeah.
So I started to look online, started to talk to suppliers, get some samples in, and yeah, get the samples started. The first product didn't do too bad, but again, it was a little bit of a potluck. I got kind of lucky with the first product. But from there, I decided to create the brand. And at this point, the partner wasn't really doing much. So I decided to put him to the test. Let's see how committed you are to the business because I'm in it for the long run. I'm investing my money. What can you give me that keeps me around? You know what I mean? If you're not really much value in a relationship, you've got to give a lot of effort. Otherwise, you're not going to be needed to your partner. So therefore, if you can't provide value, you've got to provide a hell of a lot of effort. So I asked him to meet me in the city centre at I think it was like 8 o'clock on a Sunday. It wasn't really late, but I got excuses, and excuses don't work with me. I can't go into business with someone who's going to make minor excuses in the early days, because when things get deep, he's going to bail out. So
Right.
yeah, so
Right.
basically, I tried to meet him on the Sunday. He gave me some excuse of my wife's ill or something along those lines, and the meeting never took place. So from there, I decided I have to do this on my own because I know how committed I am. I'm going to work harder than most, so I'll do this alone. So from there, I decided to go into the construction niche and then build on from the products. The second product kind of hammered me a little bit. It wasn't a bad product in the sense. I think it was around $5 cost. Landed it was around seven, meaning $5 to buy it from the factory, and then around seven to get it to the UK to my doorstep. Basically, the
Mm.
product wasn't terrible. The profit margin was okay. I think I sold it for around £18, so the margin was there, minus the fees
Yeah,
and
that's,
everything.
that's decent margin.
Yeah, minus the fees and everything, it wasn't too bad. However, it just wasn't selling fast enough, and I've encountered my first problem where I had a right angry little spell because they basically sent them to the port, and then the port basically kept them there because they didn't get me the right paperwork, so which I couldn't send it off. So they charged me around 900 for having it at the port for like 4 days. The fees are ridiculous. If you make mistakes
Mm.
in that sense, you're paying a lot of money.
But it wasn't your mistake, was it? It was just their
No,
mistake.
they didn't get the right paperwork over to me. They sent me a form, but they left out certain things that they needed. So they held a little bit of responsibility, but not enough. So it ended up me having to pay 900 because they won't release your goods until you pay. It's almost like extortion.
Yeah.
So that was my first hurdle, which I tripped over. But again, it doesn't matter about what happens when you start. The important thing is you get started straight away. You know what I mean? Speed is important. The first rule of Huston's University was speed because,
Right.
you know what I mean, regardless of what goes wrong, if you start quicker, you've got the time advantage. Do you know what I mean? The first mover advantage is massive.
Mm. So, in regards to, you mentioned your products were the original products you were looking into were not the
Hmm.
best.
Yep.
And I know because I have definitely looked into, Amazon FBA drop shipping. I
Hmm.
have a friend that has an e-com store actually. Product search or product research is kind of one of the main things that matter in regards to whether or not your store is going to be profitable,
Yep.
whether or not you're going to sell.
Yep.
And people have so much problems with this, so much in fact that you have people that are selling what are the best products to use for your store, to add to your store. Do you have any
Hmm.
tips in regards to product research or choosing a product?
It's a headache. It's just one of the things you've got to face. It's like, how do you get fit without lifting weights? How do you get fit without cardio?
Yeah.
It's a necessary evil, unfortunately. So you've got to do it. So the best thing I recommend is find a niche that is competable. So if you're a new starter, and basically, let's say you think everything's saturated, you need to find a deeper niche, meaning products that most people don't know about. So my choice was construction supplies, tools, that kind of thing. Now tools are somewhat saturated, but if you find the right ones and you brand correctly, you can obviously take your place. So my biggest advice is find where you fit. So what I tell people generally is look into the top 10, the top 20, whichever, and see where you can fit with your products. Now this is more specific to Amazon FBA because Amazon FBA is more of a sniper approach, whereas e-commerce can be more of a machine gun approach. You can throw a lot of products out there and see which ones work. But with Amazon FBA, you want to have that one product that works because obviously you're investing a lot of money upfront in the stock. So
Right.
therefore, you can have more of a sniper approach of wait, analyze, see what's happening, and then pull the trigger.
Right.
So go for the top 10, see what niche you can expand into because then your brand will have legitimacy. You can move into other fields. So keep it within the deep niche. So if you're going for a hammer, you want to go with maybe a tape measure next or something like that. So stay in your lane basically. So for most product research, it's just trial and error, but there are certain signs you can look for that will tell you whether the product's going to be successful or not.
Right. Right. So for would you? I'm guessing you wouldn't recommend drop shipping first and then moving on to Amazon FBA, given the fact that you can test different products with drop shipping.
It's possible. There's different approaches to drop shipping.
Yeah.
So you could go with a fully targeted product for drop shipping. So let's say you set up a website that is solely based on a new gizmo that's came out,
Mm.
or you could go for an absolute machine gun approach of we'll pick 100 products, we'll put them on the store, or 1,000, or whichever. We'll just get them from AliExpress and then drop them on our store, and then basically we'll make the ads and then see which ones are most popular, which can work. So there is different approaches. Amazon, I'd say it's not more difficult. It's just a different approach. So the biggest cost you're going to run into with drop shipping is advertising generally, because if you can't get a good sale from advertising, there's not a lot you can do. If you're selling gimmick products, which are like they buy once and then never return again, especially with long shipping, this is an issue most dropshippers have because once the customer buys once, they have to wait 35 days for shipping, which they probably didn't expect. They'll
Yeah.
probably won't buy again from your store, or it's
Yeah.
less likely. If you have a shop that's Amazon or that's in the country you're selling in and you're sending from there, they'll get it virtually straight away. If you're in a deep niche where people buy repeatedly, again, you only have to advertise once. The customer knows who you are then, and then that's how you basically compound your success. So basically, you're stacking on what already exists, which is why I love B2B sales, because they buy once and they buy again.
Buy again.
If you have to, let's say you go buy a printer paper, for example, or cardboard boxes. If you buy once from my store and you're in business, the likelihood is you're going to need to buy them products again, because you have to run your business, and people don't
Right.
think about the costs of certain things that are absolutely necessary. If I told you now you're going to need medicine to get better, you're probably going to have to buy them regardless of whether you can afford them or not. You have to find a way to buy them. So this is why I think B2B products are generally better for most, or perfect for me anyway. But yeah, it's kind of a different approach, I'd say. But
Yeah.
all of them can work. That's how I'd put it. All of them can work, but it's a different approach.
Right. And so from the sounds of it, while Amazon FBA costs more money to start up, it makes a lot more profit than, drop shipping.
It has a lot more longevity, I would say,
A
and the
lot more
business.
longevity.
Yeah, it depends on the Amazon business you choose, because obviously there's quite a few different models of Amazon FBA you can choose. Personally, I do private label, which means I sell my own branded products on
Mm.
Amazon, which I buy directly from the Chinese and then send directly from China straight to the fulfillment center. So I don't touch the products. It's at this point for me, it's almost a cash machine. I just got to make sure the sales are still coming in, and just keep an eye on inventory. And that is basically it. Amazon's quite an easy business model once you've got it working. But that is the problem. Get it to work, and then you're moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So everything's pretty much automated then, from the sounds of it. You
Fair enough.
just
Yeah.
check up
You
pretty
can
much.
set up your emails. Sorry, you can set up a inventory level, to which will then send you an email to let you know that you need to send more of X inventory. To
Mm.
which obviously you'll call off in the manufacturer, or if you have a warehouse, you can just send it direct.
Right. Right.
So yeah,
And
it's
so
very automated.
yeah. Okay. And so for those that want to get started, what would you say the startup costs are for Amazon FBA?
So for private label, I'd suggest at least 3,000 US.
Mm.
Obviously, the more you have, the better off you'll be, or
Yeah.
longer you'll be able to continue should things go bad. But yeah, for wholesale, you can probably do it for 1,000. For retail or online arbitrage, less than that, 500, maybe less than that even,
To get started,
to get started. Yeah.
including like, I guess you don't have to do ads that much because it's on Amazon.
Ads, people talk to me about ad budgets all the time, but generally, if you're doing everything right and you've done your product research correct,
Yeah.
ad budget will be taken away from the sale anyway. So it's a case of the product is 20, the ads cost is 4 or 5, and the fulfillment is X, and the product cost is Y. And then it's basically taken away from the sale rather than actual budget from the startup.
Mm.
So that's the way I tend to look at it. But then again, if you do everything correct, some people you don't even need to advertise the products. There's one
Yeah.
product I started about 2, 3 months ago. It was fairly simple. I put the price kind of low because I wanted to get some sales in. I tried an advertising campaign and it didn't do very well. So I left the product as it was to see how it would get on organically. And it just slowly got the reviews, it got more sales, and it slowly crept its way into the top 15. So it didn't need any advertising. And to this day, I don't need to advertise.
So for most of your products or your most successful product, the private label
No,
thing you have going on, it's you don't advertise it. You just have it on
most of,
Amazon.
most of them no. It's advertising is generally best for the early days when your product has no exposure. There's no reviews on it. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows your brand name. Once you've got the ball rolling, it is like a snowball effect. So you know, what I mean, you've got to get the analogy I like to use for creating a business or Amazon business, any business. It's effectively like pushing a car that won't start. That's got a flat battery. You know, what I mean, anyone who's ever bump started a car knows how hard it is to push a car that's not moving. But once you start to move the car, it gains its own momentum. And then once you get that brake, boom, the engine starts and then it takes itself off and then you don't need to push it anymore. So that's my analogy for starting a business.
Yeah, it just compounds like a snowball.
Exactly. It's literally the hard part is the start. It's going to take a lot of effort. You're going to be sweating. You're going to be tired. You've had enough of it and you just want it to move. Then one day, boom, it clicks and it starts to go. But as long as you keep that continued momentum, you'll make a success of it. Whatever you know, what I mean, whatever you choose to do it, as long as you focus 100%, you'll get it 100%.
Mm. Right, right. So, and I know there's a huge thing where, for me personally, because I even in high school I was always looking into things like oh, how can I make money online? There's drop shipping, there's Amazon FBA, and these things kind of blew up at a certain point in time where Amazon FBA, everybody's talking about it, drop shipping, everybody's talking about it, and now it just kind of faded down where people, they kind of think it's dead, and a lot of people are saying, okay, Amazon FBA is dead, drop shipping is dead. For
Yep.
that, what's your response to that?
Everyone will think of an excuse as to why not to start. The
Yeah.
reason it's such a I don't. It's a loser's attitude, and here's why.
Mm.
Imagine a sliding scale.
Yeah.
The worst get pushed off. The good competitors sit in. The worst gets pushed off. The good ones sit in. There's never an oversaturated market. The market will dictate how many people it needs in it. So if you're not very good, then you won't compete. But that was going to be the case whether it was saturated or not. Customers don't want crap products. They don't want crap suppliers. So if that's your attitude towards it, you know what I mean, you probably will fail because, you know what I mean, you're beginning with a failures attitude. So if you've got a great product, the market will always have you. Imagine the best restaurant in town you have. Put another 10 next to it and see if it changes. That best restaurant will stay there because people love it. McDonald's will
Yeah.
never go out of business. KFC will never go out of business. You know what I mean? They're too popular for people and they deliver a great product. So therefore, there's no reason for them to go out of business. So if you start correct and you start with good products, you'll take your market share. Like I said earlier, find where you fit, and if you do fit in that place, you know what I mean. You'll stay there, and you'll take the system, and you'll take the sales.
Yeah, makes sense. So it's not that; it's just an excuse, and people are
It's
very good at finding excuses.
yeah, exactly. They could always say it's oversaturated, but the market will dictate that. You know what I mean? If you're no good, then yeah, you'll get eaten out. You'll get eaten up and swallowed out.
Mm, okay. All right. So in regards to I think we've covered the product research. So the steps of starting Amazon FBA, from my understanding, is you find a product, you pay for the product, you send it to the Amazon warehouse, you list the product.
Hmm.
I barely looked into really much on Amazon FBA because I have separate things working on. But
Hmm.
what are the steps for those that want to get started?
So the first steps I'd say is I'd search for products before I'd create my account because obviously when you create your account, you have to pay a subscription fee if you go professional. So I'd say look for products that have potential. Then from there, if you want to get some samples in, then create your account, get the samples in, test the samples online. From there, you can obviously go back to the supplier if they're successful and they say, okay, I need an order of 100 units or 1,000 units, whichever. And then from there, obviously, you can get the products in, brand them, uh, protect your trademark. If you're doing private label, this is. Then from there, get them imported, send them to Amazon, and then get started with selling. But for the most part, from there, it's just a case of um, starting correct. So good listing optimization, good titles, keywords, great product photography, which is a very important one. And then from there, you know, what I mean, it's just a case of either advertise or wait for the sales to come in. But if you have a good product, you know, what I mean, your samples should tell you everything. If the samples did well, the likelihood is the branded products will do even better.
Hmm. So the supply would come from like some Chinese warehouse like Alibaba or something like that.
Chinese generally. I mean, there's no rule that says you have to go from China. It's just obviously
Yeah.
China is likely the most competitive.
Yeah.
I've had a friend of mine who bought from the Czech Republic and one of the Eastern European countries. I can't remember which one. I think it might have been Lithuania or something like that. But yeah, just get them imported. You can use India Mart as well, but again, generally the Indians aren't as cheap as the Chinese.
Hmm.
A lot of people like to buy clothing and fight gear and that from India and Pakistan. They also work, you know what I mean? But China generally is the bigger one because it makes basically everything.
Yeah.
One third,
Yeah.
one third of
And I
the
hear
world.
it's harder to. Yeah. You go ahead. You go ahead.
I say one third of the world's products come from China, so it tells you everything.
Right. And I was saying I hear it's harder to do business in India if you're not a citizen of India. I was actually speaking to someone that does have citizenship in India. He handles some educational company in
Mm.
Jamaica, and he's scaling it internationally. So yeah, I suppose China would be the best bet, right?
Yeah,
Obviously, you can go elsewhere, but China's the best bet. So you get your product, boom, boom. So it seems like to me, because in my head, it seems super simple, right? You get the product, you list it on Amazon,
yeah,
right? Obviously, there's lots of hard work. There's a lot of business models that seem simple, but you got to
yeah.
constantly do it.
I'd say
Right.
it's the right approach which will do you the best. So
Mm,
it's not the most annoying thing with Amazon is you're generally waiting on others. So it's a bit like when you're playing tennis, you have to serve it to them.
mm,
That's 9 times out of 10 what Amazon is. I'm sending emails out. I'm asking for quotes. You're generally just waiting for people to reply. Okay, where's my products? I'm waiting on them. The products are at Amazon. I'm waiting on to be checked in. I'm waiting on the ads to come through. It's generally a case of just doing a little bit of work and then waiting for them to get back to you. So for the most part, it doesn't require a whole lot of work. It is quite a simple model. It's just making sure you have the right approach and knowing what products to look for, and that will obviously separate a successful business versus a failed one.
the right approach and the
Yeah,
consistency. I think a lot of people
yeah. I
they
think
miss
just
the
knowing what
consistency.
products not to go for and what products you should be looking for, and what approach you should have. I think that's the best bet for most people.
Right. And in regards to the products, just niche down, right? Because I know a lot of stores do really well selling things that I've never heard of, some basic stuff,
Yeah.
whether it's for pets or school or whatever it is. If you
Mhm.
niche down in particular,
Yeah,
and you get
generally,
specific products,
a lot of people go for the most common products that people buy, like clothing, fitness, kitchen. I'm like, those are going to be so competitive. You're going to really struggle to get sales on that because everyone else is thinking the same way. Versus me buying a specific type of nail that nobody knows about. Do you know what I mean? The specific people are going to be looking for that. So now instead of competing with 100, I've got to compete with three. Do you know what I mean? So, but again, like they'll say, is yeah, there won't be as much sales in there, but versus 50% of something's better than 100% of nothing. And that's likely what's going to happen with your business if you're competing in a niche that just has too many heavyweights in there. Do you know what I mean? The
yeah,
analogy I like to use with the students is: if you're going into a boxing competition, do you want to go into a boxing competition with a bunch of Mike Tysons or a bunch of 12-year-old amateurs?
right.
It's you
Yes,
know what I mean. Make your choice. One, you're going to get KO'd in within 10 seconds probably. One, you're going to have a good chance of winning. So pick your battles.
yeah. That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
That's a perfect analogy. All right, so you mentioned like one of the main setbacks you had. What are some more major setbacks you've had when it comes down to Amazon FBA apart from that shipping thing?
Like I've just said, picking products that a lot of people are going to buy, and
Yeah.
then running into the niche of people are just it's just too competitive. So one of
Mm,
the products I bought was a pair of gloves. They were designed very well. Um, they were very comfortable, well made. They had my logo on it. They looked very good, I thought, as did a few of my other buyers. But they were just in a too competitive niche, and I couldn't
yeah.
get the ads profitable. I tried
Mm,
about 4 or 5 times with advertising. I tried even with freelancers to get them to make it to work, but it just didn't. It just didn't have its momentum. So at the moment, I've got probably about 1,000 of them sitting in the warehouse. You know, what I mean, selling maybe 3 a day, if that. So for that product, it's a case of sell it and then get rid of it. You know, what I mean, I don't want to pursue that one, but it was a case of you didn't do the proper research. All the red flags were there. I was a little bit naive at the time. It was probably about 2, 3 years ago. This was, and
right.
what I did was basically I committed to a product that was doing all right during the pandemic. When then pandemic slowed down, it didn't do too well. So again, you got to kind of cut the products that are not assets, and that product really is an asset at the moment. It's as far as sales go, it was under the. It's only, I think I'm only charging about £13 a unit. So take away the product cost, fulfillment cost, referral fee, all that kind of thing. It's probably making £3 a sale. So not doing too well. So therefore, going forward, it's going to be dropped.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So and the red flags are obviously, as you mentioned, saturated market, something
Yep.
way too common.
Yeah.
Uh,
If you look at the
is
top 10, it should tell you everything. Or the top
yeah,
20. If you look at the top 20, you should see everything you need to know.
that's the top 20
The
products,
top 20 best sellers on Amazon.
top 20 best
If
sellers.
you go
Okay.
into your niche and look at the top 20 best sellers, I think this was in like a work gloves niche. So I looked at the top 20. The reviews were in the high thousands, which is a
Mm.
big red flag.
Oh wow! So you look at the products, you look at okay, how many
Oh
people?
yeah,
Okay, and that's
competitors.
how
That's a Mike Tyson. I don't want to fight him. Uh,
you don't want to find him. Okay, so
yeah.
what's a good range of like reviews or purchases that you kind of what's the sweet spot that you look for when looking at a niche?
Um, I'd say I don't want to be going over more than the 2,000. If the
That
if the
was
if
okay.
the I mean, if there's one that's dominant, I don't want to be in that niche.
Mm.
But much of this is inside my course. If anyone wants to check it out, but again, I don't really want to be competing in a niche that has more than 2,000 as the top. If that's the case, I'm probably going to struggle.
Okay, so you have a course, by the way. I was actually going to
Yeah,
end up asking you. All right, send me a link to that, please. I'll add that to the description. I'll put that down in the description for anybody that's looking to get more into Amazon FBA. TJ is your guy, right?
sure.
So yes, just shoot that over to me. I'll get it done after the video. So okay, so red flags, market, boom, boom, boom. You get the
Yeah.
product set up. You find a good product. You get it set up. All there really is you put it, and correct me here because you know a lot
Mhm.
more than me. You put it on the store. You put it on Amazon. You know, you handle all the listings, the title, the all the basic stuff that I don't
Mhm.
really know about, and you just wait for customers to come in.
Somewhat, yeah. It's basically you're trying to attract the customer, so you need to know where you can compete. One of the biggest advantages FBA has is not all products on Amazon are FBA. So basically, FBA means Amazon fulfills the item, the order, meaning the product goes from their warehouse directly to the customer, and it usually gets within a day or two, or sometimes same day, depending on where you live. So that has a major advantage when customers are looking for products because people nowadays want things yesterday. So therefore, if you're FBA, you'll have a big advantage just through having the Prime logo. So if you have
Right.
FBA, you'll have the Prime logo. So again, you need to find where you can have that edge on your competitors. So if you're not first, you want to be different, and if you're not different, you're really going to struggle. So for the most part, advertising in the beginning is generally the best bet. From there, the product should be able to hold itself down. As long as you've got the Prime logo and people are looking for your product, you should be able to hold it down.
All right. And you, so for you, you recommend private label versus just getting the products
Wholesale.
and selling
Yeah.
them
So wholesale, you're selling
versus
somebody
wholesale.
else's product.
Right.
Effectively, me selling Nike shoes or Nike socks or something like that on Amazon. I'll have to buy it from Nike. They own the intellectual property. I don't, and therefore I'm just a reseller. But with doing that, you have to compete for what they call the buy box, meaning you have the best offer for the customer to buy from. And usually, if the product's that popular, there'll probably be at least 15 to 20 other sellers selling the same product. So therefore, now I've got to compete with every other pair of socks, as well as 15 people on the listing. So it's a lot more. Obviously, Nike socks are a lot more popular than your products are likely to be. So therefore, that is the counter argument. But I prefer to have my own listing because then I can control it.
Yeah, but even though they're more popular, they already have their listings on Amazon. There's other
Yeah, it's
competitors,
super
and
competitive.
yeah,
This is why,
it's
again, with wholesale, I'd say it's more of a rifle down the range approach. You can shoot a little bit more, but you still have to target a little better rather than just like the machine gun approach of spray and pray. Obviously, private
r-
label, you get like I say, sniper, just like hold and wait. Then okay, pull the trigger. So
mm,
that's how I'd analyze wholesale. But I do prefer private labels. I've done private label since the start. It's mostly what I know.
yeah. And but with the sniper method, you also have to keep in mind that if you miss, you're kind of screwed, right? So, and that
Yeah,
the main thing when it comes on to targeting is once again the product research. Yeah.
exactly. So you can with a sniper approach, you can miss, but you can tweak it. So you can tweak your scope, in effect.
Yeah.
So
Right.
therefore, you can tweak the product, you can tweak the listing, you can change the ads over. You know, what I mean, you can change the photography, you can give it a lot much better perception of what it actually is. But you'd have to do a lot of things wrong to make an absolute mistake of it. If I'm being
Right.
honest, you know, what I mean,
Okay.
there's some that have done that. To be fair, they've just gone with the big mistakes people make is low profit margins or zero demand, or they'll just copy somebody else. So if you make a mistake on any of them three, then yeah, you've pretty much just might as well set your money on fire, your investment money on fire, should I say?
Yeah, because I know a lot of people are thinking, okay, it's a sniper approach, but what if I mess up? But it's not that easy to mess up in such a way that you have to restart
Yeah,
everything all over, basically, is
I
what
mean,
you're
if you
saying.
do it on your own and you don't know what you're doing, then yeah, you're more than likely going to make a mistake. So luckily, my students, a lot of the time, I'd say to them, just send me a DM. I'll go
Right.
through the product idea with you. You know what I mean? Obviously, I want to make sure you don't lose $2,000 just like that.
Right.
So send me a DM. We'll go through it. I'll see if there's any red flags on the product that I can see. If not, get some samples. Again, the samples will give you a good indication of how successful the product is going to be. Because if I put the products up that are samples and they do well, the likelihood is the products I'm going to commit to full time, which is the same product, is likely going to do well as well. So I always like to get samples just to make sure I'm not going to lose just $2,000 straight off the bat or whatever the investment is.
Right. Right. And excuse me. And so from the sounds of it, it sounds like the Amazon FBA kind of because a lot of people listening would be working on something,
Mhm.
whether it's some people will be doing Amazon FBA, some people doing copywriting, some people have their jobs. So it can be started up based on the workload that I'm hearing about. It could be started up as somewhat of a side hustle and then gradually
Yep.
built into.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's how you got started, right? You're doing the construction and then you
Yeah.
started kind of a
So
side hustle.
yeah. So the analogy I like to use, or sorry, the system I like to follow for if you're a beginner entrepreneur, everyone starts with a job. I don't care who you are. Basically, everybody, unless daddy's money gave it to you, fair enough. Everyone starts with a job. If you want to start from the bottom, you're going to start with a job because you need money to just exist. You know what I mean? So from a job, you can go to a skill, which is what I did. So I was unemployed on a building site, and then obviously I learned the skill of carpentry. From that skill, I was obviously self-employed, so I could work my own hours. I could focus on my job. Focus on my business while I was working my normal 9 to 5. And this is a big mistake that many entrepreneurs make. They try and go from a job to a business. It's absolutely
Mm,
feasible, but do not get slack on your job. The biggest mistake they make is they focus on their business because they assume their business is going to be successful. But the truth is, businesses do take a while to get them to work. So therefore, when you have a job, you have to focus on the job to make sure the employer won't sack you. A lot of people that happens to them. They focus so much on their side hustle, their employers notice them slacking, and they end up losing their job. So this is why I always recommend you go from a job to a skill, and then from a skill to a business, because then obviously
right.
you can fund the business with your skill. So
Right.
that is exactly what I did. I used the skill to fund the business, and then of course once the business starts to work, it's effectively a cash machine. And it was about 2 years, 2 years and a month or two. I decided to quit the job full time and focus on the Amazon business.
Right. Right. 2 years.
Around 2 years, yeah.
Around
I
2 years.
could
Okay.
have quit much sooner, to be honest. Because I
Mm,
got to about 10K a month after about 16 months, but in the back of my mind, I knew I hadn't fully succeeded yet. So I knew I needed
right.
to stay on site and stay working just in case, because I had the time to work. Amazon's such a passive business model that I had the hours to work. So therefore, why shouldn't I? You know what I mean? There's no reason I can stay in bed and not do anything because I have the option to. I should get out and get more money while I have the ability to. But
Right.
that comes down to your attitude towards it. If you really want to win, you'll do whatever it takes.
Right. Right. And I'm gonna go a little bit off page here, but
Mhm.
my friend and I we went to I don't know if you know about Negril. It's a place in Jamaica. It's where a lot of tourists are.
I think
Went
I've
to
heard.
Negril. Yeah, yeah, that's where the swordfish are, and it's a very
Yeah.
popular place when it comes down to Jamaica. Went to Negril and we're looking at businesses and we're trying to. I don't remember exactly what we're trying to do, but we're trying to get something right. And we called maybe 5, 10 companies, and a lot of them didn't answer or they didn't do what we were asking. And also when I was doing sales, I we'd have to call solar companies. One of the jobs I had was to call solar companies. A ton of them didn't answer. Now the reason that I brought that up is you hear some crazy statistic when it comes down to business, right? That maybe about 70% of businesses fail, right?
Mm.
But when I look at how people conduct their business, I
Mhm.
think it's very obvious why
Oh
70% of
yeah, definitely.
businesses fail.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Here's the thing with most entrepreneurs. They have such an arrogant attitude towards it. You think your business is going to work after 6 months, and you're confused of why it's not working after 6 months. How arrogant must you be to think it's going to work, just like everyone else who's been doing it for years? You expect your business to be successful.
Right.
That's ridiculous to me. Imagine me going to a boxing gym after 3 weeks and thinking I'm going to beat the person who's been in there for 6 years.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's different for business? You know what I mean? You shouldn't. you should know that this is going to be a hard road, and you're going to have to face a lot of problems through learning, and you're going to quit after 6 months or 12 months. Come on, you'll find many excuses why, but the
Yeah.
successful ones didn't listen. They just carried on regardless and said, "I'm going to make it work. Don't care. It's going to happen." That
Right.
it put into their mindset that it was going to not work. You know what I mean? It's a bit like a relationship. How do you know a relationship's going to work? You don't. You just make it work. Simple as.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, especially in this day and age where kind of making money online is the shit, a lot of people see it as not hard work, but just an easy way out. A lot of people see it as,
Yeah.
a way not to go into a job, a way to work for yourself. And
Hmm.
I think that's also one of the main reasons people end up failing. They sit home,
Right.
they say they're going to work, and they work maybe 1 or 2 hours a day, and then
Yeah.
go
It's a
out and tell
lazy
people they have a
attitude.
business.
Generally, the lazy get pushed out because the
Yeah,
ones who are not lazy and the ones who want to win are going to take all their sales because they're far more competitive. So,
yeah,
best of luck to them lazy people. But the truth is, you're really going to struggle. And you
right,
can't
right,
struggle because you kind of want the easy road, and life doesn't work like that. If you want an easy life, you're gonna have to do what's hard. If you want a hard life, do what's easy.
right. And and let me ask you, okay, I see you doing a lot of MMA on Instagram and things like that. I mean,
Yeah,
I do boxing. I'm kind of shifting into starting up some kickboxing, and what I will say, I stopped doing boxing a little bit. I was doing a lot more lifting. What I will
hmm
say, when getting back into the gym, and I think the Tates are absolutely right about this. Having just doing fighting, maybe even if it's just three days a week, it would really change your life. Because when I did a sparring session, I finished, and I just wanted to fix everything, whether it was in the gym or outside of the gym. I want to just get better at everything. Have you
yeah,
found that fighting has helped you, or just fitness overall has helped you when it comes down to
massively.
your business?
The best thing about fighting, especially, is if you do the wrong thing, you get punished badly for it. Especially in wrestling and MMA and grappling sense, if you're grappling and you decide to get a little bit lazy, the opponent sees it and takes advantage. This is a great metaphor for the business world. You start getting slack, your competitors will notice, and they'll take every piece of business off you they can. So it's a great life lesson. You know, what I mean, you do the wrong thing, you get punished, and that is life in general.
Yeah,
So that's probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned from mixed martial arts.
yeah. And you get punished, and it's in a room where everybody's watching, and like I was sparring, and I did very well, but I still knew there's small little intricacies that I need to fix.
Yeah,
Right. I was dominating the session, but I still, and from there on, outside of life, I just wanted to fix everything.
yeah,
Right. It just brought back a drive. I think a
yeah,
lot of people, like, obviously, it's not necessary. Fitness isn't necessary to be rich. Look at the billionaires;
oh,
they're all kind of fat. But I feel like I feel like
yeah,
it's a better way. I feel like it's a better way. Um,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I do remember watching one of your videos and you're talking about like having a massive ego when it comes on to having massive ego and justifying,
yeah.
right? I want
That's
to kind of go into the mindset set part. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, that's fine. So a lot of mistakes, a lot of the younger lads make this mistake is they have an ego, but they're like it's an outward ego to the world, and it kind of alienates them a little bit. So I say have a massive ego, but keep it in here. Do you know what I mean? Believe you're the man, but don't be outwardly arrogant. It's not generally a good look. If someone asks you to do something and you say you can do it, yeah, I can do it, no problem. That's not arrogant. That's just confidence in your own abilities. But if you're out here saying I'm better than everyone else because I do X, Y, Z, or I've got X, Y, Z stuff, no, it's just going to alienate you from people. You know what I mean? It's not a good look. Generally, I'd say
Yeah.
inwardly have a massive ego, but outwardly be humble. You know what I mean? It's going to do you a lot more favors, makes you a lot more likable. And people underestimate the importance of being a likable person. So that's my general attitude towards being humble as far as your attitude goes.
Okay. And how does one go about developing that inward ego?
Inward ego, I think you've got to work to justify it. So starting in the gym, that's a great place to start. Because obviously when you look good, you know what I mean, you feel good, you're strong,
Yeah.
therefore you'll have a great self-image. So I talk a lot about self-image because this was an analogy used before about when someone stopped smoking. They said I stopped smoking because I didn't see myself as a smoker. It was my self-image was I wasn't a smoker. So therefore, when I went to quit smoking, I didn't smoke anymore because it wasn't me. I looked at myself and decided that cannot be me. So a lot of it does come back to self-image, which then will translate to self-belief, which then again will give you more confidence, and then for more confidence will give you more experience, which will lead to more competence. So, and therefore, it's again develops into a snowball effect of I'm achieving, therefore I'm good, and therefore I have a great attitude towards the world, and I have a good ego. But that ego should be working to justify itself. So, for example, if I want to lift 100 kg, I have to get to that level, and I have to get to
Right.
that level of 100 kg bench press, whatever, to justify my ego, and it has to be justified.
Yeah. Because you see a lot of people, they they have this huge ass ego, but
Mm-hmm.
don't really do shit.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, it's unjustified.
Yeah, it's completely unjustified. It kind of my friend and I we laugh about it all the time. We're like, he's chatting shit. He's not doing anything. There's so
Yeah,
many guys, even with like Tate's blowing up, and we're talking about it. We're like, even if Tate doesn't get released or anything, it's he's already won the game in regards
oh
to he's
yeah,
created so many like even if there are 5 other Tates that come out in the next 10 years, it's game over. You know,
yeah, yeah.
and
There are
there's
many that
but
try to replicate it as well, but
what was that?
there are many people who try to replicate what the Tates are doing. It's
Yeah,
not an easy thing.
yeah, it's not an easy thing, but the amount of people that have been reached, and the reason that I brought it up is because there's so many guys that they talk about Tate, they talk about Tate, they talk about Tate, they post Tate all the time, and then they don't really in their real life they don't do shit,
Yeah,
which kind of doesn't really make sense to me.
yeah,
Right?
nah,
They
definitely right.
just chat about it and don't do the work, and then you have the people that internalize all that stuff and they don't really talk about it too much, but they're slowly growing. I think those guys are going to make an impact 10 years down the line. That's going to
Mm-hmm.
completely change the world, right?
Exactly.
I think it's going to make a huge impact.
That's exactly what Tate's attitude towards it, isn't it? It's the embrace the hard work. It's supposed to be difficult, you know what I mean? Embrace it. That's why it has value. So a lot of the time people do talk about mindset is because it absolutely does come down to it, regardless of your skill level or whichever. If you have the determination to achieve it, you know what I mean? Humans have proven year on time and time again, every single year, that nothing's impossible. What we put our mind to, what we focus on, we can absolutely achieve.
That's that's very true. That's very true. Even when you look at like great conquerors,
Yep.
they did crazy
Climbing
shit.
Everest, 4 minute mile. It wasn't done until someone who was determined enough decided to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
again, this is why again it comes down to mindset. Most of the ones who failed just failed because they gave up. It's simple as that. How tenacious are you? You know what I mean? Ask yourself. If you don't, then be honest with yourself. This life might not be for you. Entrepreneurship is difficult. The reason the 1% are the 1% is because the 1% did what the 99% didn't want to do. So make your choice. If it's not for you, just be honest with yourself.
I think another thing is also kind of you start to enjoy the struggle and the hard work.
Yeah.
Because when I look at the best times, like the best feelings I've ever had, it's after I went through like a whole lot of shit and
Yep.
just still pushed through it. And then at the end of the day, I look back and I was like, damn. And that
Yeah.
was a really good feeling. And it continues on
Yeah.
versus just being like sitting down and searching for the pleasure and watching Netflix and eating ice cream, becoming
Yeah.
a fat fuck.
I
And
think
then,
this was
yeah,
realised very early on after I quit my job. That hedonistic lifestyle, it doesn't last. It's like you become so jaded so quickly. You need hard work to appreciate the world. So some of the best things I'll do now is literally just mixed martial arts, come home and enjoy life's minor pleasures of food, people, company, whatever. And that's all you need. You know what I mean? Life, God provides everything you need in life through simplicity. You don't need drugs. You don't need other hedonistic things to exist. You know what I mean? You can have a happy life just through doing the hard work and the small rewards. And that is far more fulfilling than the hedonistic lifestyle.
right. And having the right people around you, super,
Mhm.
super important thing.
Oh, yeah,
And
massively.
yeah, I mean,
The bad influence and the bad crowd will drag you in with it. You know what I mean? The average of 5 people you hang around with. And if you're around crabs in a bucket, God help you, because they're the worst ones for you because they don't want to see any success from you. You can't talk to them. You're effectively the biggest problem I had when I was around 23, 24, when I was trying to create my own business was I was I had people around me, but I was so lonely in my own mind because I couldn't talk to anybody. Nobody understood what I was talking about. You know what I mean? This was the great things I learned through making new friendships and brotherhoods and all that thing is you find things to talk about and you feel a lot less lonely when other people are around you that understand it.
Right.
So that was a major thing for me to get through, was finding people that were on my sort of path and could understand what I wanted and the struggles I was facing.
Right. And also, something that I kind of wrote down from earlier, you did mention that the partner you had was, he wasn't really putting in work.
No.
Right. Now, for me, anytime I have something, I always want to have or certain business ventures that I've been doing, I'm looking for a partner to work with on that, and I'm sure a lot of people are. How do you vet that partner? Because I'm guessing you'd have a system by now.
Test them. Simple as. Just test them. I'd ask him to do really inconvenient things. Get him to meet me at annoying times. I can't remember who was listening to this. I think it might have been one of the big CEOs of one of the companies in the US. And basically, call a meeting on like 9 o'clock on a Friday night or Saturday night or something stupid, just to see who would turn up. And the ones who didn't turn up, they were either demoted or fired. You know what I mean? So they're really about it. There's some people in this world who are legit just about it. They want to win regardless. They just want their business to win. You got to compete with them. You know what I mean? And they want to win so much that they're just literally happy to do anything. A lot of them are super cutthroat. But that's the world. You know what I mean? That is the business world. It's absolute war. And the ones who come out the best are the ones who come out on top.
Right. Right.
So as far as testing your partners goes, just, you know what I mean, give them difficult tests. Like I said, just like you have to justify it with yourself, they have to justify their efforts with being a partner. If they're not willing to go into the trenches, they're not worth it. You know what I mean? I'd like to test their egos to see what they will and won't do. If more business, I have to do something degrading to get more business to work, and I'm really about making that work,
Yeah.
I've got to do it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not above like mopping floors or anything. If I've got to make it work, I've got to make it work. If you've got an ego that says I shouldn't do that kind of thing, well, then you're probably a loser anyway.
That's actually, in regards to testing, those are some genius ideas. I haven't heard those before. Typically, I hear, look at how they are in relation to women. I hear you look at the discipline, but those tests are actually genius. I'm not gonna lie.
It just saves you a whole lot of headache down the line, because if they're going to give me these sort of problems early on, they're going to give me long-term problems going forward. Sometimes it works better as well for people that ask to borrow money from me, and I'd say, okay, then just do X, Y, Z for me. And if they give me attitude towards it, you don't think they're going to give me attitude towards it when I ask for the money back?
Right.
I mean, generally, a good rule of thumb is now don't lend money to people that need money, because generally they can't pay it back anyway. But that's just another thing I like to do, just test people to see if they're willing to, make that effort. How much do they care about my friendship with them or whatever, or relationship? So it's always good to test people.
It is. It is.
If they have a problem with it, that says a lot about their character. If you said to me, TJ, I need you to do something for me, or sorry, TJ, I need a favor from you, and you said, okay, I need you to do me a favor. Yeah, what is it? I need you. I need to get the favor back from you. So therefore, what do you want? You know what I mean? If you said meet me at this place at this time, at this inconvenient time, yeah, no worries. I need what I need. Job done. I'm not going to think you're a problem because you want something back from me. You know what I mean? I'm the one who asked for something in the first place. So it's a bit of something I never understood from other people. But that was, again, like I said, I was pretty lonely, not understanding people around me.
All right, so we've covered the Amazon FBA section. We've covered a little bit more into mindset. Is there any other advice or tips you'd have for the younger guys based on your own personal journey in regards to what your mindset was when you're younger and what it is now?
I was a little bit too focused on business and money. I'd say, let's say, don't party in your early 20s. Don't go out with friends. Don't have no fun. I don't agree with that at all. I think enjoy yourself, man. You know what I mean? But work to justify it. So let's say I want to go party with my friends on a Saturday night, whatever. If I'm 21, let's say I'm one of the younger lads. I'll have to work for it. So therefore, okay, have I done a full 5 days work a week? Have I made X amount of money that week? Have I put this amount of effort in at the gym? Cool, you're allowed to do it. If you haven't, then you shouldn't go. You know what I mean? You have to work, and you have to work for your pleasures effectively. So if I want to have a dessert at a restaurant, I'll have to make sure I go to the gym at least 3 times that week or something like that. So make your pleasures. You know what I mean? Life's not all meant to be about hardships. So just work to justify it is what I'd say. Enjoy yourself. Learn to get friendly, socialize a lot more. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the lads nowadays they kind of section themselves away, don't talk to
Yeah.
anyone. They've got no social skills. That's bad for you in business. That is very bad. The guys who do the best in business are the ones who are the most friendly, conversational. You know what I mean? They're great at talking to people. They're persuasive. Develop them skills of persuasion, likability. You know what I mean? That's what you got to do.
And that's just from talking to people, just talking
Yeah,
to people
just
more
talk
and
to
more and more.
people. You know what I mean? Just get them social skills up. Talk to girls. You know what I mean? Got to be done.
Right, right. Yeah, I was actually gonna end up asking about that because I know a lot of people, or most of the people, in fact, in this space say, for all your twenties, just work. Don't play. Don't do anything like
Yeah,
that. For all your twenties, just work. But you don't agree with that in particular. That's what my friend and I have been doing. Actually, we've been just working, and then if we have we gone to the gym? Have we
yep,
made X amount of money? Have we done this X Y Z? We're gonna have some fun on the
yeah.
weekend.
The truth is, there is some truth to it. You know, what I mean, you do have to build yourself as a man, and you have to build your empire. So I'd say just make it a good balance, but like a swayed balance. So I'd say do at least 70 to 80% work, and then 20% should be pleasure, friendships, relaxing, enjoying yourself. Go with your friends out to a theme park or whatever. Go on holiday. You know what I mean? But just work in the time where your downtime. Do you know what I mean? You should be working towards it. But again, enjoy yourself, man. You know what I mean? Life's worth living.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think that even ironically enough helps with business because if you're locked up all the time, eventually you're gonna just be like, "Fuck, does this even make sense?"
Yeah,
You're not doing anything with your
yeah.
life. You have no social skills. You're locked up in your house.
Yeah, you've got no relationships with anyone, and the truth is, the happiness to life has always been people. You know what I mean? The most happiness you will find is through other people, regardless of how much of an introvert you say you want to be. You know what I mean? The most happiness you will find is not going to be from numbers on a screen. It's through fulfillment and having good people around you. It's as simple as that. I used to be the exact opposite. I used to just want to just basically not talk to anyone, just be myself, focus on money and all that kind of thing. And then I realised there was no real enjoyment in it. It was just more of like a keep your mind occupied. But yeah, the greatest happiness in life will always come from other people.
Right, right. And so, kind of to summarize everything we've gone through,
Mhm.
yeah, we've covered the Amazon FBA. Please send me the link, by the way, for that
Yeah,
course.
sure, no problem.
Anybody that's watching this, link in the description. You want to get started with Amazon FBA, check it out. Obviously, this guy knows his shit, right? So check it out. We've gone through mindset. I did want to ask you though, when did you start getting into MMA?
Mixed martial arts it was around April last year actually. So April
Mm,
2022. So
mm. And how have you
yeah,
found it?
I was boxing quite a bit before that.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, how did I find it? It was a lot different from boxing. The standing was different, the cardio was different, the range was different. I was terrible at wrestling from the start.
Mm,
It was so frustrating. But again, how can I teach other people to be committed to going through something if I decide I want to give up because something's difficult or I'm taking a beating in the gym? It didn't work. I just told myself I'm going to take these beatings and I'm going to get better at this. You know what I mean? And then recently, you know what I mean, I'm starting to take other people down. I'm starting to get submissions and that kind of thing. So I found it quite good. It was enjoyable, but at the start, you know what I mean, you do have to take the knocks. It's just the reality of learning anything. Let's be honest.
right.
But
And
yeah, no,
and
I do find it
yeah.
enjoyable. Hard work.
And do you think MMA or yeah, well MMA because you just done boxing and MMA, right? Those are the two that you've done. Do you think MMA is better in regards to the mind when it comes out for both of them?
I'd say ever so slightly because in boxing, they are somewhat very synonymous to each other. But in boxing, with striking in general, if you're tired, you know what I mean, you can maybe throw a jab, just keep them occupied. With let's say you're grappling or wrestling, you're going to get very tired quickly because wrestling is extremely tiring. But once you get tired and you start to make them wrong moves, you know what I mean? That's when you really get punished. In boxing, you might get lit up a little bit, but you can still move around, circle off, whichever. But I'd say that has the edge because of that. You know what I mean? You do the wrong
Yeah.
thing in MMA, you really get punished.
Yeah, I know for a lot of people it sounds like a stupid question. The reason that I asked is because I also started off with boxing, right? And I still do a lot of boxing. I love my boxing,
Yeah.
right? But recently I've started doing a little bit of kickboxing also. And for
Hmm.
some reason, I've just found it much better when it comes on to the dopamine release, when it comes on to mentally, because your brain's more active all the
Yeah.
time. Because you're looking for the kicks, you're looking for the punches. You're right. With boxing, you can just throw the jab, throw the jab, throw the jab.
Yeah.
You only focus on the hands and you're fine,
Yeah.
right?
That's
That's
exactly right. You literally got like four weapons to worry about. When they're at a certain range, you've got one or two, if that. You know what I mean? The hooks and the uppercuts ain't coming from outside of range.
yeah,
You've got to be in range to throw them. You know what I mean? So you got two or three shots you got to worry about. From that, you know what I mean? You don't have to think too much. Do you know what I mean? It's left and right. Which one's coming? Or which way is
yeah,
he going to go to throw the shot?
yeah,
With mixed martial arts, it's a case of, have I got to check? Is he going to come in? Is he going to shoot? You know what I mean? Have I got to defend a takedown? Single? You know what I mean? You've got a lot more weapons to worry about, as well as weapons to throw yourself.
mm, yeah, yeah. Your brain's like way more active. I
Yeah,
don't know. It's super addictive. It's super addictive. The
indeed.
just fighting over.
Like the say to the chess analogy, it's very similar to chess because obviously you move one way, he moves another. You know what I mean? He does the X, you do Y. You know what I mean? Just like on a chessboard, that pawn moves there, that knight moves there. I've got to react to it. So they're very similar. That's why I like to do both.
Mm, right, right. All right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate having you on the podcast. There's a whole bunch of gems dropped in here. Uh, I would like to know, or let the people know, where can they find you? You got the Instagram, the whatever socials, or
So yeah, my Instagram is TJ Cunningham 01.
right,
TikTok is TJ Cunningham 001. I think my YouTube's the same as my Instagram,
right.
and I think that's about it for my socials.
Okay. And for the course, do they DM you or
They can
do I
DM
just
me, it's not a problem. The website is AmazonAscensionCourse.com if they want to get into the Amazon program with me.
right,
I also offer
right.
something called Inner Circle, which is basically all the ways I make money from crypto to investing to property to a few other things which I won't say on the podcast, as well as Amazon. Not nothing illegal. I'd rather keep it simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, every other way I make money.
All right, great. I listen. I appreciate having you on, man. Just
I
stay for
appreciate
one
being there, man.
second. I'm
Thank you.
about to end the recording. Just stay on for 1 second for me. Let me just get that done. For the rest of you guys, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Leave comments, leave likes. Let me know what I can change. You can message me at Kingpin Podcast on Instagram. I'm gonna start getting some posts up there. All of you guys viewing now, I appreciate you, day one fans.